How historically accurate is the film? I know it's set on real events, but are the characters authentic, or did you make them up for the story?
A lot of the characters are authentic. I mean, a lot of our heroes, our sort of Magnificent Seven or Seven Samurai heroes, were fictional characters that we created. A lot of them, however, are based on characters that I read about, real people from the period. But the character that Brian Cox plays, Baron Albany, was a real character who was a rebel baron, and he went to Rochester Castle and fought in the battle and died there. The character that Derek Jacobi plays, Sheriff Cornhill, was the Sheriff of Kent and lived in Rochester Castle and also died during the battle. He was married to an 18-year-old girl called Isabel, who's played by Kate Mara. Charles Dance plays Stephen Langdon, the Archbishop of Canterbury, was a real character. King John, obviously. So, you know, there's a number of factual characters and a number of characters based on other people that I read about. But obviously a number of fictional characters as well. But the events are pretty accurate. I mean, the overall events of the story of the battle and various incidents. There are a lot of pretty amazing incidents that happened during the siege and during the battle, particularly at the very end, and what happens to the castle at the end. And all of that's completely real and based on fact and what I read. A lot of this stuff you actually read at the castle when you visit the castle. It's still there, it's still standing to this day. They rebuilt it after, not to give too much away.
Andrew, this kind of looks epic in scope, but it's covered in independent production. How do you sort of go about getting the money on the screen? How does that, what kind of logistics involved?
Impossible. I mean, trying to get money from anyone at any time is hard, but in a recession, I mean, it was terrible. But once we got Paul and then we got James on and we launched it, you begin to sort of bring a partner on board, and putting together a $25 million movie in the UK in a recession is impossible. But once everyone bought into it, it just seemed to roll forward, and the next person came, and the next person, and everyone, as Jason said, wanted to be there. You know, it was Wales, it was pissing with rain, but by the time we got there, it was the place to be. You know, when you came around the corner and you saw the castle, you went, "Wow, this is serious." And Jonathan, very early on, had the vision for the film. He's an artist as well as a director, so he was able to produce storyboards and give people a look and feel. This is my vision, this is what I want to do. When you've got something tangible and you're giving it to financiers, because you're selling something that, you know, we've taken 18 months to put this together. They haven't seen it yet, they don't know what it looks like, and they've given us $25 million to make it. Right. So you have to try and explain to them, this is what it's going to look like, and they have to trust you. And that's the biggest thing, is getting them to trust you. Right. So,
for all the actors, because they built, Jonathan cleverly, well, they had to, but they built the castle first, and it was kind of like, if you build it, they will come, because it was like, we saw the castle, and everyone was like, this is real, this is actually going to happen, because once the castle was there, it was so exciting.
We actually rebuilt Rochester Castle in Wales, and it's still there as well. So if you do some research, you'll find out, and then you can go and see it.
Right. That's kind of how the story came about, isn't it? You visited the castle as a tourist.
Yes, yeah.
Bro, any more questions? Yeah, right with that.
Hi guys. I was just quite curious to find out, you said you rebuilt the castle. Like, how long did it take to actually construct that, and where you got the trebuchets from?
We built those too. It took about 14 weeks to build the castle, and we built two of the large trebuchets that you see in the sequence. I don't know how long they took to build. Probably about a month.
Our production designer was Joseph Nemec, the guy who designed Terminator 2. So he had the task of putting it together. And originally Cardiff Castle has one of these trebuchets. We went down to have a look at it, and they were going to let us have it. The trouble was we had to dismantle it. No one's ever dismantled a medieval trebuchet, and we were going to do it. And then they went, hold on a second, guys, can you put it back together again? We went, we don't know. So they went, maybe not. So we literally had to get the production department, the physical effects guys, to build the first trebuchet that's been built since 12th, 13th century. Then we gave it to Cardiff Castle, and it's there now, and they did about 2 months ago, I think, they had a special firing day, and they got some costumes from the film, dressed these guys up, and just threw it. And it's amazingly accurate. I mean, it throws sort of 150 feet, precision every single time. So
when you wind it up, you have to wind it up. We actually fired one, as all the lads had one, and we fired it, and we wound it up, and it's like, you know, it's from the 13th century, this thing, and it goes, and then it locks, and we were like, they were going, it's perfectly safe, guys, absolutely perfectly safe. And we looked around and all the crew, and all the director and everyone, were like 15 feet away, with big plastic covers on them, and we're there in cotton socks and just going, you sure this is all right?
What, this one? This one.
And when it comes out, it was, when you pull out the piece of wood that actually fires it, it was just like, it was the most terrifying thing, because it's all that wood's just straining, it just goes... It was incredible, wasn't it?
There's a big whipping rope which
Yeah.
literally will go 20 metres around you, and you literally have to...
I think a
duck
lot
or you
of
lose your
people
head.
must have died firing those things.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What do you guys remember as being the toughest day on set, James? What was it, how tough did it get?
I think right towards the end, you know, there's a certain amount of you know, after a set has had various invading armies and horses and more fights, you know, what's the word where the set had just fallen apart, really. Sort of by the 11th week.
Like paper mache.
It was just disgusting, that set.
Yeah.
And I think the big fight that you just saw that I was doing with Florence, we shot that pretty much on the last day, didn't we?
Some of
It
the
was
stuff,
like
yeah.
last 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just the set could sort of collapsed by then, and
The weather had turned really bad.
yeah,
as
and
well,
the weather
hadn't
was
it?
just horizontal, you know, horizontal rain, just for 11 weeks.
It
just
rained
didn't-
every day, and then on a bad day it would rain and be 60-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
It was awful.
I think those days were the toughest, you know.
Because when we were told not to go on top of the castle, then we knew how bad it was, really, because we'd be blown off. It was to stay down and just hide underneath the horses, really, wasn't it? In the stables, just huddling between two stallions, going at it.
Just like me now.